guys, today we're going to deal with some of the more common types of street attacks that we can face. Admittedly, if we were going to do this in a sequential manner, we would usually start off with proximics, the psychology of distance, aggression cues, some statistics. We'd look at early protection. We'd look at evasion, verbal de-escalation, diffusion. We'd get into soft force, soft evasion, soft power, maybe some restraint tactics, a little bit of striking, escalate that into stand-up grappling, get into some wrestling, add some weapons, go to the ground. We'd have a nice sequential flow. Today we're really looking just to give some quick responses and some intense pressure tests for some of the more common things that happen. So we will admittedly be starting in the middle. We'll be starting with contact. Bruce Lee said that you can't learn to swim standing on the beach. We are going in the water today. Whether or not you can swim, you may get a little waterlogged, try to swallow a little bit of water. It's going to be a bit intense. But we're going to start off with one of the drills we use most, which is pushing and evasion. And when you look at it as a biomechanical tool, there are a few things as important, because one, it's completely safe at the beginning. It's very soft. Two, it's teaching your body how to move. But even if that was, if that was the only reason to do it, that would be reason enough. But more than that, if you look at the escalation of violence, the cycle of violence, pushing is a very common tool. You look at domestic abuse, you look at bullying in high schools. They talk about, you see these programs teaching bully proofing, and they teach, three-step block counterpunch response to pushing. But that's rarely how pushing happens. Pushing can start very softly, then a little bit of this in the face and whatever, and people start to get victimized. They're trying to ignore it, they're a bit surprised by it, they're in shock, they keep going, and the person uses that ritualistically to escalate and build up their confidence. And as a bouncer, you'd often see this fuck you match, where two guys would be there, and one guy would push the other guy, and the other guy would push and strike me, you go first, and they're trying to get the other guy to hit, and part of that is fear, because nobody wants it to start. They just both want to look like the big gorilla. And that's a very natural thing, and very often that escalation brings the fight to a place it didn't need to go, where it could have been diffused. And again, there's verbal tactics, there's psychological tactics, but being able to take a push in a way that doesn't get inside your psyche, inside your spirit, doesn't make you sort of tense and angry, and just move on, can end a fight right there. So knowing how to deal with that, knowing how to move your body is essential. And then as we start to add sucker punches and hits and grabs, and we get into the helmeted work, and it's going to get a little bit more intense, if we start freezing up, which today most of us will, then we know what we need to go back to, because we will have a very compressed progression. The pushing drill, which we do so often at the beginning, sometimes we take for granted. Today we're going to add 6 proximic tools to it, have all sorts of considerations, keep escalating it, keep adding responsibility. So there will be a point where you're gonna sort of freeze and stop functioning well, and that's where you need to recognize it. I'll point it out as well, but that's where you need to sort of say, okay, this is where my freezing point is today. This is where I need to go back to. If we don't pressure to that level, we never know, and then we underappreciate the basic stuff.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
So first thing we're going to do with a partner, very simple. I bore you two boys. We're going to go congruently back and forth. All we want to do, push back and forth. So one person pushes the other, nice and soft. Take it for a second, the other person pushes. Yeah. So no part of you, keep going, no part of you is trying to stay fixed on the spot. You're allowed to walk if it needs to walk, let it move you the way it wants to move you, but we want to keep it natural. One of the biggest weaknesses we see in this drill when we see it done in a lot of the Russian martial arts is people get, we say, lost in the wiggle, where they start adding all of this cosmetic tension, right? And it becomes a ritual in its own right. It wants to be just natural, don't add cosmetic wiggle. Yeah, that's it. It should just be very, very natural. If you're comfortable, immediately start pushing the face. Immediately start pushing the legs, areas that tend to have more fear. If you want to push, use your legs to push the groin a little bit, the hips. There's all sorts of areas that psychophysically start to make us tense. But we need to do this for quite a while. So we're going to push for about 5 minutes, back and forth. There's nothing to think about here. Thinking, if you think about something down here and get a little bit tense and try to guess where you're going to respond, you'll see right away there's a freezing if somebody tries to guess. Right? There's a little brain fart. This is what we want to get rid of. As long as you're brain farting, you need to stay in this drill. That's the bottom line. Right? Some people need 5 minutes on this every day. Some people need 7 months on this. Depends where your muscle intelligence is. Yeah. So back and forth, pushing and pulling, any acceptable way you want, nice and comfortable. Get a human. If we have a triangle, we have a triangle. Go, go, go. Please.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
There is a time to do symmetrical congruent drills like this where you give and take back and forth. It's good as a warm-up. It's more fun, it's more enjoyable, it's less stressful. Now it's going to escalate another level. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a 2-minute phase. So one person constantly pushing the other. If we're in a triangle, one person can constantly push two. Push you, push you, push you, back and forth. And then when we switch, somebody can volunteer to get in twice. You get 4 minutes of pushing, yeah? So the first thing that's changing is that you're always taking, right? So some of you will have aggression, some of you will feel angry, some of you will feel victimized, some of you will oscillate through all of that, which is part of it. Just see what happens, observe, and enjoy. The pusher should also sometimes use 2 hands, which is extremely powerful, right? Sometimes we just think 2 hands twice as powerful, but now it's also symmetrical, so sometimes the whole axis is getting pushed. It's harder to absorb because most of our absorption is occurring on a horizontal plane, that kind of rotation. We take it away, it's bad. If you get somebody who's very smooth, you can start to play with this kind of stuff more as a mechanical study. Realistically, it's usually going to be a double shoulder push, which is quite shocking when you're not expecting it. Yeah. Third thing we want to do is we want to vary the rhythm. So the person doing it without disparaging, without getting verbal, I should push, but I should break my rhythm. I should have maybe a single, come up, a single, a stalk, a single and a double, push a little bit harder. Yeah. I should push and push and push, break the rhythm. The recipient wants to see what it does to them. They just want to observe. So there's nothing wrong with kind of giving your back and letting yourself feel a little overwhelmed as you get pushed. And just try to walk and study your breath, study your thoughts, study your emotions. It's 2 constant minutes. Don't let yourself go into verbality. Don't talk, don't swear, don't insult. You can talk about movies and whatever else, but it's usually better to stay quieter in these drills and just let it happen. Yeah? 2 minutes, take some space, plenty of time, plenty of room, and go. Please.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
So, generally, when we consider this drill, that's where it tends to stay, and people are allowed to be very soft and fluid, and there's a lot of value in that, but we need to get the nervous system ready. So all we're going to do now, we know that when we strike, considerations aside from our surface that we choose are the depth of the strike. How deep do we put it? Is it 1 inch? Is it 6 inches? And what kind of sort of trajectory do I give it, right? There's a difference between punching somebody straight, punching somebody with a curve, punching somebody with a sort of snap on it. So when we push now, we're going to go from that simple kind of motion, pushing, so just general back and forth, push back and forth. And all we're going to do is add a little snap, a little retraction, like a whip. When we go to the face, rather than slow it down completely, give a little pop, exactly. A little pop to the face. We still want to always have a retraction. It'll be lighter on the face, admittedly, lighter on groin, lighter on joints, but we still want to shock the body a little bit. If you see your body starts to respond and doesn't feel comfortable having the hands down, you want to bring it up. We want to try to make it sort of conversational, hands crossed in front of the body. They can come up naturally into a, exactly, conversation stance, walking, holding, as you wish. So keep on moving. Yeah, and you can go even sharper. So shock the body a little bit. So I see what it does. Because what happens is when the body gets a little shock, it wants to stay there. So I need to dissipate it. Sometimes I need to twitch it out, right? So it's a world of different. Now we're starting to bridge between strike and push. When we think about a push, very few people are going to push you hard and long like this. That's sort of a big brother, come on, get out of here. A push is going to be ballistic, right? Somebody trying to start a fight is going to at least start with that kind of a snap to try to get you jarled. And if they're doing it really hard, they're going to send you through the wall. Right? People will push you. If I push you hard, I want to push you 3-4 meters. So if people fall, if they're in socked feet and you slide, that happens. It's okay. Yeah. Push with a little bit of spank. Still one hand at this point. So I see what it does to the nervous system a little bit. Again, we're going to stay here for a while. Yeah. Ladies, be careful of the breasts. Light on the groin. Guys, hit the balls.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
Last 40 seconds, guys. Don't be afraid to get a little dominant, stop, get into the attitude of the bully. What we're going to do first, we're gonna prepare the push-up in the air. So whether we're palm or fist, we're gonna grab our push-up. Everybody do it now? Yeah. I want to have my elbows naturally hanging where they hang, humerus length, yeah, on the body. That's what I want to feel. I want to feel that friction on my body. Not like this, certainly not like this, right here. When I make an oval with my shoulder, I'm always rubbing here. Always rubbing, yeah? And so I come forward as far as I can, up nice and high, back by squeezing my shoulder blades symmetrically together, and then down. If I go opposite direction, we get a lot of tension in the reptilian sort of hindbrain, right? That's the fight or flight source right there, and a lot of the neck gets tense and the traps come up and the breathing becomes shallow. So what we're going to do is acquire our push-up position, however we wish to do it, fist or palm. And we make sure, first we're going to go down and see that we're touching our ribs with our elbows. And now as I inhale, I want to make an oval. As I come down, half of the oval. As I come up, the other half. Think with my shoulders. I can switch directions. I can go down making the half in one direction, come up making the half in the other. My tailbone is always under, my core is always engaged, and I can switch directions every time if I wish. Now I'm going to squeeze the arms nice and tight. Starting my breath, 10 to 15% before I move, holding it, and then 10 to 15% before I move. Beautiful. Drop the hips now. Look up. Same deal. Elbows are on the ribs. Keeping my arms more contracted than they need to be.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Luke's wine be mine.
Attackers and recipients, break that rhythm. For those of you that were disappointed, Santa didn't give you handprints on your sternum for Christmas. So now we're going to do a fast review of proxemics. So proxemics is the study of the psychological and physiological effects of distance, right? And we know that just by having somebody come up and start to intimidate physically, the body changes, systems escalate, we change our posture, we start to oftentimes we victimize ourselves and we place ourselves at a disadvantage posturally. So we have 6 basic attributes to successful defensive tactical posture in a proximal setting. We're going to start with the first 3. So the very, very first I don't want to do is I never want to be parallel flush, because most of my vital center point, or targets rather, are on the center line of my body, and they're most easily affected by direct pressure. So the first thing we do is blade the body off between a 30 to a 45 degree angle. Minimally, right? If I have no space and I'm absolutely in a corner, I try at least to turn, right? And most stances have this consideration. As I do it, if I have absolutely no space, I would like to bring my hands between us. Right? Most of us, up until now in the pushing drill, kept our hands down, and oftentimes we think that that's harder because we're accepting it. But in actual fact, we're placing ourselves tactically at a disadvantage. If we do this and somebody comes up and pushes and punches, and we're here, the best we have is riding the shot and a bit of shoulder. If we had the choice of using our hands for a shield or using our elbows, we would have had far better advantage. So we'd rather have the hands up. The problem is the hands and any sort of fencing with the hands adds its own tension. So now just having our hands up is going to change our posture. We're not pushing it, but we're just going to bring it up. Postures that are good, crossing the hands here is probably the easiest one if you have no idea what to do. Crossing the hands here is horrible. Yeah, that's a military guard trying to brandish the medals and look awesome in front of the imperial palace. That's a bodyguard ready to stop you, reach for a weapon to protect the client. Difference. That's for show, that's for go. Yeah, so we go here. We never put our fingers together. We don't want to clasp. We don't grab anything. We don't grab our belt. We just here. If we have to rest, on the buckle. If not, grab the contour of your meat. And if we had a jacket and weapon access, those would be extra considerations. We would never hold onto our jacket. Some people hold onto their jacket, so they're faster to pull it open and it's slow. Just want to be here. Even if you're doing security work, you're far better keeping something in your pocket, a few quarters, pocket knife, flashlight, whatever it is, so that if you flick your jacket, it has its own weight and it flies open. That's what you want. You never zip a jacket if you're doing security work. You never button it. You just get cold. Yeah, that's it. You get cold. You deal with it. You put your coat almost closed. You cross one hand over both, coat to coat, like a bathrobe without a sort of belt. Hand goes here, hand goes there. That's it. Yeah, and then when it opens, all I should be able to do is flick, and if there's enough weight to the jacket, or if I've added weight, got a nice suit, put a little weight, you know, the curtain weight, so that's what most of the bodyguards do, is they buy the curtain weight, they get it stitched in their pocket. So I do that, and their coat goes, it flicks open, and you can access. Yeah, I would just keep my flashlight, when I would bounce, I'd just keep it in my pocket. That's it. Simple. So my hands are here. I don't do this. Better than this is this, better than that is this. Yeah, if I cross my arms, the only postures I really use are this and this. Don't do this. Bicep show, or my favorite. You get all stuck in that and then guy punches you in the face and you're unconscious. Yeah. So I want to be here so that my body can either access a weapon or go into my stance or shoot. Nothing that locks my body or weaves it in any way. So, and usually power hand to the back. If you're right-handed, your weapon would be there, your power hand would be here. That's it. If you're injured and you have to switch, train yourself to switch your hands, otherwise you start to get all messed up. So that's it. Those are the postures I'm looking for. This is a third posture that you might use. If you're comfortable, hands might be up, talking, right, passive. None of this. So that's all we're really oscillating between. Talking, calm, casual. Yeah. So we have our blade. We have our hands in a comfortable position. Third, if I'm able, is I would like to zone out. All that means is that I would like not to, if I'm here and I'm bladed, I have an advantage, but it's equal pickings with both hands. So if I can just move over a few inches, align my shoulder with his sternum, it gives me an advantage right away, because now that's close and I can smother, and that's just far enough away that it gives me more reaction time. Again, you're not trying to do this, because no one's going to let that happen in a dynamic tension, sort of dynamic or tense environment. You start to step two, obviously the guy's just going to stalk and follow. So ideally, you want to be here. That's all I want. Yeah. So we're going to switch back and forth. Person one is going to be there. Person two is going to walk in, inflate the body, be flush to sort of there, and as soon as I come in, you just cut blade and zone. Stare through him. That's it. Then we shake it off. We relax, and it's his turn. He comes up. I see, and then right away I just find the distance I feel comfortable. That's it. Easy. Back and forth. Take the time you need in between. This is a light phase. There will be 2 light phases before we make it intense. Please.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Luke's wine be mine.
Almost the exact same thing, except we're going to take turns now. The person is just going to come up and make us aware. So at first they can touch, and then after you can sort of see that they're there. As soon as we feel contact, the big tendency people have is this, right? Which usually looks a lot like a fist in your face. Boom, done, right? You have no reaction time. So the first thing we want to do is what we call a slide step, which means I'm just going to step forward at least 1 step. If I have the space, I'm going to take usually 2, and I'm going to look. And when I look, I want to look always with my chin a little bit low, just in case I get sucker punched. I don't want to look like this. That's where you send your brain for a ride, yeah? If I don't have a lot of space and it's a tight environment and I feel somebody, I'll usually look like this, and right away I'm going to have my hand in a comfortable position. If my left was on top of my right and my right was my more ready hand, I would either switch it or release it. There's nothing wrong with bringing your hand up so you're ready to catch. There's nothing wrong with being ready to wipe or to actualize it. But I don't want to look first. I step a little bit and then I look down and low towards my chin. So I'm maximizing, again, remember the reactionary gap, right? If we only have about 1 meter between fist and head, and then I turn in, I've reduced it even more, and I've cycled into oncoming traffic. I want to step away just to change his expectation. So there's just that little stutter before he swings, if he's going to swing. If he swings as soon as I move, at least he's hitting the back of my head. Yeah, that's what I'd rather have, rather than greet it with my face. So that's it. So right away I look here, boom, that's it. I can be very casual. It could be anything. It can be that. Change your rhythm. That's it. So we're going to do 1 person continuously for 2 minutes, and then we'll switch. Slide step. Slide.
I wanna start from before beginning. Little twine be mine.
Before we go to person 2, remember the 3 basic considerations, 3 of 6 that we've done, right? We have blading, zoning, and fencing with the hands. When we're here and we see somebody's coming, we take a step. Don't volunteer. I'm already kind of bladed when I take a step. And when I step, it's so easy to zone and just go a little bit towards his angle, off to the corner. Don't volunteer to step in postural alignments quite weak and then turn right in the middle of this, right in his punching zone. I don't want that punch to be coming straight down in a good bench press alignment. I want it at minimum to necessitate a pivot. People have trouble with pivots. If they're touching you and they have to start cross punching like this, it gets weaker. So move that body off to here. If you were working with a baton or a gun, don't turn towards the side that you have your weapon on, because then it's hard to get out, right? You always would step and turn. So then in this position, you'd either be under or over. I usually work under. That's my preference, right? So you want to see that you have that. If you have absolutely no space, there's people right here. George could be in front of me. It's the most hopping club in the city, and there's people here. Then I fence in front so that I don't bump anybody, and I rock my torso. I rock my torso like this, and my elbow is already coming up, or my hand is here. Just don't block your vision. Some people do this, and they're nervous, and they don't see what's coming if it's coming from over here. Because maybe I think it's his left hand, but it ends up being his right. I do this, I'm looking there, and I don't see this at all. And so I want to rock. My whole body is turning so I can see. My chin is down. So if it ends up being left, I'm okay. If it ends up being right hand on my shoulder, I want to see that I can still see stuff coming over. Yeah, so consider both. Switch your hands, zone out, make sure you're blading. Be ready. Move yourself into a position of comfort.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Little twine be mine.
One thing, as soon as we get into mild movement, we're just going to have our stalker, predator, aggressor there, and he can follow us with a step or two, like a caged tiger. No, just with you, so I'm being you now. Hair's gone, yeah? So you want to be walking, following basically like this. And the subject wants to practice just standing in different positions, back to them, front to them, moving and walking. And what happens now is as we start to get pushed, we're going to start getting pushed lightly. We'll go back to light. The tendency sometimes is to stay in the zone where when we're moving, you follow me a bit. When I'm moving, I sort of allow him to be there for multiple pushes. If you push me once, I should acknowledge you right away. It doesn't mean I have to stand and turn. I can keep walking. But if he starts to follow me and push me multiple times, oftentimes we get stuck in this rut, and then even when we're walking, we're yielding, but we're always keeping him behind us, which contextually we would never want to do. Somebody pushes you, you might want to see if it's a mistake, and even if it was intentional, you might choose to keep walking. You just don't want the fight. But if somebody's there and pushes you a few times and keeps going like this, and he's trying to start a fight, it's very easy to fall into this reflex of kind of looking over our shoulder. So this begets the problem, how do we turn? Because the slide step now, it becomes tough. If he's pushing me multiple times like this, and I slide step away, I stumble. And so what are we left with doing? Do we do a chicken run, or what are we going to do? So the easy thing to think of is, if I'm in this position, and I decide to step, and I'm going to turn, I want to turn, but I want to turn wide and through. It's very hard. If we go in slow motion, he keeps pushing, we're going at congruent speed. If I try to slide step on the path against dynamic energy, my feet end up getting crossed. And what ends up happening is people end up turning either way they turn, but they start turning with their feet very tight together. And if somebody's ready to punch you, that's exactly when they're going to do it. What I need to do is, if I'm walking and moving, I start getting pushed, and I feel it, is I need to take the leg that's going to come around into a wide sweep. So I use this to define my space, and then I load up, even if it's not the stance I prefer with the side I prefer. Right? So he starts pushing, hard as he wishes. So then I take my stance here. And then if it prolongs and it starts to lengthen, I step back into my preferred side, if I'm not on my preferred side. Does that make sense? So watch, we're going to go super slow. So we just start. First we push, again, if you're comfortable, a little bit of snap, yeah. Then if I start pushing multiple times, exactly. So you see there's a tendency right away to want to make it sort of like a Taekwondo tournament. You want to make it very smooth, very natural, yeah. Exactly. And so your body, just like, remember, we talk about our base of sustentation. Right? We occupy about a square foot of space with a center roughly 3 feet off the ground. We have a 3-to-1 ratio. That's our base of sustenation. And the most basic way that we improve our balance is by widening our base and congruently lowering our center. We talk about the 3 planes of movement. We have a horizontal plane, a medial plane, and a frontal plane. Our horizontal plane is the plane upon which we are most able to spin and move. And aside from widening our base and lowering our center, rotation is the second most effective way for achieving stability, albeit for a fleeting instant, right? So if you think of a matador, a dancer, or a figure skater, you can spin almost like a top in perfect balance. You can't do that. You can't front flip 5 times in the air. You always have to reset. You can't cartwheel multiple times in the air, but you can spin because you're always in relationship to the ground as a bipod. So when we start to spin like this, we're just letting our body really carry that mass, right? In a way that doesn't have to shake our brain. We're not doing this. We're just, my eyes should be tracking in the laziest way, and my foot is really defining my space, my hand is there, so that I'm never cross-tight. I never want to be turning like this. That's where I'm going to get knocked. I want to step in a way that my base is always wide in case I get rocked, I can respond. Yeah? If it's wide and it feels sweepy, and your posture is not mangled up, that's what you want. And it's also a very good way to get into our 4th attribute, which is loading the base and being ready to go forward. Yeah? 2 minutes, same person. Explore it slowly.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
So, when we sucker punch effectively, choose whether or not we're using our first 2 knuckles or our bottom 3, the facet we wish. Yeah? Big mistake is people, sometimes from a sportive background, they sort of do this kind of a vertical kind of hook where the vector of the arm is quite bent. We have 2 vectors, one from the forearm and one from the wrist. And that means when I hit, that creates a junction, a bend where that force comes out, which looks a lot like a bone coming through your skin in many cases, right? So it's not a very effective angle. If I do a horizontal hook, some guys just swing it in like they're stabbing their thumb side in, but then we rarely hit with a clean flush surface. And if we're a 3-knuckler, we never get it there, and what ends up happening is we break our thumb. So a good rule is to put our thumb down to a 45-degree angle like we're dumping out a bottle. And we want to think of that coming over the top, either with my 2 or my 3 knuckles. So even if the person puts their elbows up and they're all shielded up like this, instead of driving in like this, I'm putting the hardest part of that hand, my striking surface, in there forward. So I can hit into his elbow with less damage to my hand, and I can also invade into these crevasses more easily, which is what I want, right? Even if I hit his skull, things happen. But again, we'd ideally not like to do an overhand right to the skull, but we're training to be the most educated thug we can right now so that we can defend without breaking our hands in class. So all we want to do, person's going to do the same work. You're going to do from the push from the back, and when he turns, we're going to just slowly drive a single strike into the head, like a sucker punch. Exactly. And you will see how you defend. Nothing faster than that. There's only really 2 choices. You're either going to block away from your body, or you're going to block close to your body. I prescribe blocking close to the body. Number of reasons. 1, body learns proximally first, from the body, from the spine outward. This is how our body's most natural. That's our most sort of quickly improvable response. 2, closer to the body is faster to respond. If I respond with elongation, I respond to the origin of the strike, which usually means I arrive at where it came from by the time it arrives at where it's going. It hits me as I arrive at the ghost, yeah? I want to be here to maximize my reaction time. 3, the lever of the arm when it's out and floating like this is not very strong. A smaller person swinging with good windmill power will tend to power through that, if not wound the arm itself. When you're braced onto your body, you're there just to add padding, and the emphasis is not in stopping, but rather in moving. It's very difficult to focus on yielding and putting something out like this. It tends to make the body quite tense. Whereas if I move, shielded in like this, it's easier to evade and move away. If you do grab yourself, you're not wearing gloves, the recipient, so place the palms to the head, higher tight, like this. Be careful of having the hands off the head. It'll make a double noise, sometimes a thumb to the eye or a finger to the face. So grab your own self. If you do go away from the body, observe if it's being successful. The person should punch in with about that much speed, but continuously, like a garbage truck backing up over a little Hyundai hatchback. Push, so that you see if it's working. I get a little bit of push. Yeah? Same person, we're doing a 3-minute round. This is our last soft phase before escalation occurs.
I wanna start from before the beginning. Let's wine be mine.
Doing multiple micro variations of that phase. And every time I say switch, we'll always have a rotation with you and your partner. That'll be the first rotation. And then when I say group switch, it means if you are in a group using helmets, you will come out to a non-helmet group. There is no requirement to work with helmets. If you don't want to, your neck, whatever, you don't do it. You can fully get tons of work without doing it. You may work with the helmets once and go, yeah, I want to work with the helmets, and you go, I don't want to work with the helmets. I have these plans in the new year, and it's whatever. So if you're using the helmet, generally, there's no real need for what we're doing today to get worried too much about all these other attachments. Just undo the bottom one. Some of them undo like this. Some of them have a single strap. Flip it up like that. This one on the bottom as well can come off. When you get your chin in there, you basically put, I took a small one just to show you, but it's going to be tight. Pull your chin strap down. Get your ears in the hole. Put your flap down, and then it's so tight, the math that lived behind your ears goes behind your eyes. You want to squeeze it into a math nucleus, like this. And you're going to have a loss of peripheral vision. It'll be harder to breathe. All of that shit, just like a real fight. Because you'll have tunnel vision in a real fight. You won't be able to breathe well in a real fight, except here you're not going to bleed from the face. It's a helmet. It's not a unicorn horn. It is not magic. So you still get brain damage. If you get hit hard enough on the front and the helmet is not tight, you still break your nose on the visor. It's not magic, so it doesn't mean now you can swing as hard as you're wanting to, dust your old couch. You're just doing it so at least you can make a little bit of contact. And if it's too much, just say, oof, less. Time out, less. Just give me less. Is that all you got? Whatever you want, yeah? Again, you don't have to do it. We have tea tree oil in a little squeeze bottle, and we have some towels, so when you're done, courteous spray, dry it out. Either way, your hair's fucked, yeah? Your hair's gonna look horrible, except you, Daniel. It's going to be exactly the same, with rivulets of George Mann sweat. And that's it. And what's gonna happen is both the striker and the subject, the recipient, will be wearing a helmet. So there's 4 helmets over there. If you're on that side now, when you come in, you can start playing, because a lot of people say, well, I want to counterpunch. If you do want to counterpunch with some degree of control, make sure it's controlled. Make sure you're wearing some kind of a glove as well, because again, the helmet is still sharp enough if you knuckle it. If you're just going to work on counter push, fine. You can push a little bit to the face, a little praise Jesus evangelical into the nose, and come in. You can strike, then clinch. You can keep your distance. It's your choice. Let it go out for about 10 seconds. Don't wrestle and let it erode. It's only a 3-minute round, and then you switch. Courtesy wash it, pass it to your neighbor. Big rotations now, and it's going to be different. So for the first phase, exactly the same thing. We have 4 people that can start off with helmets. The rest will be on this side, and we will do a full rotation. So if you do all want to go in, we'll see what happens, but not everybody will want a helmet, so there's no pressure. I give you guys a minute if you want to get water. It's a good time.